Ever since time immemorial, humanity has grappled with the perplexing question: if God is all-powerful and all-loving, why does evil exist? This query has haunted generations as people witness suffering, injustice, war, and cruelty in the world. For many, including me, a humble servant and devoted member of the choir of Jesus, it represents not only a philosophical dilemma, but a deeply personal challenge. Our hearts ache when confronted with pain and loss, yet it is precisely in this crucible of suffering that God invites us to grow in faith, compassion, and understanding. I have come to see that evil is not an independent, self-existent force planted in the fabric of creation. Rather, it is best understood as the absence of divine light, a shadow cast by our own choices, ignorance, and separation from God's perfect love. The scriptures remind us, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Through this lens, the existence of evil is directly tied to our gift of free will, a precious endowment granted by God for the sake of genuine love and meaningful choice. I firmly believe that the existence of evil is inseparable from the free will that God bestowed upon humanity. When God created man and woman, He not only fashioned us in His image, but also gave us the freedom to choose. This choice, the decision between good and evil, is fundamental to the beauty of authentic love. Without the possibility of error or wrongdoing, acts of kindness, sacrifice, and mercy would be devoid of the deep significance that comes from overcoming temptation and adversity. Consider the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. They were placed in a setting that was not devoid of challenges. God deliberately positioned the tree of knowledge of good and evil at the center of their experience. This was not an invitation to sin, but an invitation to choose, an opportunity to embrace true love by freely aligning with God's will. When we fall short and stray into selfishness, greed, anger, or hatred, evil appears as a consequence of our own decisions, a sorrowful byproduct of being estranged from the light of divine truth. Reflecting on the teachings of Jesus, I hold that evil does not have its own independent substance. Much like darkness, which is simply the absence of light, evil exists only when God's light of wisdom, compassion, and truth is obscured. Our own ignorance and misguided desires create a space where evil can thrive. When our hearts are clouded by selfish ambition or uncontrolled anger, we lose sight of the path illuminated by Jesus, a path that leads to redemption and renewal. I recall the words of Christ, "For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world, yet forfeits his soul?" Evil, then, is the consequence of failing to cherish the treasure of our spiritual inheritance. It is a distortion, a shadow cast by the absence of divine light, and it serves as a reminder that only by reconnecting with God can we hope to diminish its power. Various wisdom traditions, from the ancient philosophies of Hermeticism and the mystical insights of Kabbalah to the sacred teachings of Eastern religions such as Hinduism and Buddhism, offer perspectives that resonate with this understanding. In Hindu thought, for example, evil is seen as an illusion, Maya, a transient state born from ignorance. In Buddhism, suffering, dukkha, is also viewed as a result of ignorance and attachments that keep us from realizing our true nature. Yet from my standpoint as a follower of Jesus, the Christian narrative carries a uniquely redemptive message. Evil, rather than being a permanent fixture or an independently created force, is the inevitable outcome of misused free will, a challenge that invites us to return to the loving embrace of God. Jesus' life, death, and resurrection are the ultimate responses to this challenge, offering us a path to overcome our own darkness through the transformative power of grace and forgiveness. In my own life, I have faced moments of profound sorrow and lost times when the weight of suffering seemed insurmountable. I remember moments of despair, when the darkness felt so overwhelming that I questioned whether the light of Jesus was truly present. But it was precisely in those moments that I discovered the paradoxical beauty of God's mercy. Every tear, every heartache, became a stepping stone on my journey toward a deeper understanding of love and sacrifice. I have come to see that suffering is not meant to break us, but to refine us. It is a divine tool used by God to strip away our pride and reveal our vulnerability, thereby opening us up to receive His healing grace. In my darkest hours, I experienced an overwhelming sense of peace, a reassurance that I was not abandoned but lovingly guided by Jesus. That peace was not the absence of pain, but the awareness of a loving presence, working in and through my struggles. One of the most profound lessons I have learned is that each of us carries a part of the darkness within. We all harbor deep-seated fears, regrets, and moments of anger that can easily turn into destructive forces if left unchecked. Yet I have also discovered that acknowledging these inner shadows, rather than denying or repressing them, is essential for transformation. As Jesus said, "If you love those who love you, what reward do you have? For even sinners love those who love them." Luke 6:32. True love entails embracing not only the light within us, but also the darkness, and then gently, patiently, transforming it through forgiveness and understanding. For many years, I struggled with anger and resentment, powerful emotions that threatened to eclipse the light of hope. It was only when I learned to face these feelings head-on, to accept them as part of my human experience, that I found the strength to convert them into compassion and empathy. My journey has taught me that the redemptive power of Jesus' love does not demand perfection, but offers a way to reclaim our fragmented selves, to integrate our shadows into a whole that is capable of both suffering and sublime, transcendent beauty. I often reflect on the simplicity yet profound truth of one pivotal choice: to let the light of Jesus guide us in every moment. When confronted with injustice, cruelty, or even our own inner demons, we can either succumb to bitterness or choose to rise above it with the transformative power of love. It is not an easy choice. Our human frailties make us prone to anger and despair. Yet every act of forgiveness, every time we reach out in kindness, we actively dismantle the structures of evil that might otherwise dominate our lives. I challenge myself and all who listen to this message on Lucid Dream Portal to consider each day as an opportunity to heal, to forgive, and to channel our inner struggles into a force for good. This is not a call to passivity. It is a call to engaged, conscious transformation. We are invited to be the agents of change in our own lives and in the lives of others. By turning our pain into wisdom and our grief into empathy, we echo the revolutionary love of Jesus, a love that has the power to unravel the very fabric of darkness. In my heart, I believe that every moment of suffering, every encounter with evil, carries within it the seed of transformation. Much like the alchemical process that turns base metals into gold, our trials serve as crucibles in which our inner selves are purified and elevated. I see each loss, each failure, as an opportunity, a chance to refine our character and deepen our connection to the divine. When we allow ourselves to feel pain fully, to sit with our sorrow and then release it through the act of forgiveness, we witness a miraculous transmutation. Our brokenness becomes a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the boundless mercy of Christ. This process is neither swift nor painless. It requires us to confront uncomfortable truths, to dismantle long-held beliefs, and to embrace humility. But I have experienced firsthand that the reward is immeasurable. A soul enriched by wisdom, capable of radiating a deep, abiding love that only comes from the recognition of our own vulnerability and the infinite grace of Jesus. One of the most recurring themes in my spiritual journey has been the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not merely an abstract theological concept. It is a radical transformative act that reclaims our freedom. When we forgive, we are not excusing wrongdoing. Instead, we are refusing to let the pain of that wrongdoing continue to govern our lives. I recall the words of Jesus when he taught, "But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Matthew 5:44. In that commandment lies the secret to overcoming the dominion of evil, to replace the corrosive energy of hatred with the healing balm of compassion. In my own life, I have been both the giver and the recipient of forgiveness. I have felt the crushing weight of unforgiveness, of holding on to past wounds, as well as the liberating power of letting go. There were times I clung desperately to bitterness, convinced that by harboring anger, I was somehow defending myself. Yet, over time, I discovered that each moment spent in resentment was a moment stolen from the joy and peace that Jesus offers so freely. When I finally chose to forgive, I experienced a profound shift, a reawakening of hope that transformed my perspective on life and restored my spirit. The dance between free will and divine grace is at the heart of the mystery of evil. God's gift of free will means that we are the architects of our own destiny. Every choice we make reverberates through our lives and those around us. It is through this lens that I view the existence of evil, not as an unavoidable curse, but as an essential aspect of our growth and evolution. Without the freedom to err, our expressions of love and compassion would be hollow, predetermined, and devoid of true meaning. I have learned that God's grace is not a passive force that merely forgives our shortcomings from afar. It is active and dynamic, present in our lives as we continually strive to make better choices, to learn from our mistakes, and to bring light into every corner of our existence. The tension between our flawed human nature and the perfection of divine love creates a space where transformation becomes possible. Even when we falter, God's grace is there to lift us up, to remind us that we are never beyond redemption. It is in the quiet moments of introspection, when I face the full measure of my failures and limitations, that I feel the overwhelming presence of God's love most profoundly. In those moments, I understand that the capacity to choose is both a blessing and a profound responsibility. Our choices shape our destiny and redefine the world around us, and through the choices we make, we can either perpetuate the cycle of darkness or ignite a spark of divine light. In every trial and tribulation, I see an invitation from the divine to grow and to evolve. The hardships we face are not meant to break us. They are designed to refine us, sculpting our character and revealing the depth of God's unconditional love. I urge you, my dear brothers and sisters on this journey, to look at each challenge as a sacred opportunity, an opportunity to transform your inner life and to contribute to a collective healing that the world so desperately needs. There will be moments when the weight of injustice or personal betrayal makes you want to retreat into bitterness. But remember the words of our Savior, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." When you choose to be a peacemaker, when you decide to be a source of light amid the prevailing darkness, you embody the very essence of divine love. Every act of kindness, every gesture of forgiveness, reverberates far beyond the immediate moment. It creates ripples of hope that touch countless lives. As a devoted follower and servant of Jesus, I see it as our sacred duty to harness the transformative power of love. Our lives are not defined by the mistakes we make, but by how we respond to them. It is in rising above our failures, in choosing to forgive when it is easier to resent, that we manifest the glory of God's grace. Every time you offer kindness, every time you extend compassion towards someone in pain, you are participating in the divine work of healing. I encourage you to let your life be a living testament to the resiliency of the human spirit. In the echo of each sunrise and the quiet of every night, let the remembrance of Jesus' sacrifice remind you that, even amidst darkness, there's always a path back to the light. Embrace your free will, not as a burden, but as a powerful means to shape a future imbued with hope, healing, and endless possibility. Ultimately, the battle against evil is waged not through grand gestures alone, but through the daily, often small choices we make as we navigate life. I have seen how the steady accumulation of loving actions can alter the course of a day, a community, and even a generation. When we choose to respond to negativity with love and to view our own shortcomings as opportunities for spiritual growth, we set in motion the process of transformation, not only in ourselves, but in the world at large. My heartfelt plea to you, dear friends of Lucid Dream Portal, is to keep your inner lamp burning bright. Allow the miracles of forgiveness, compassion, and humility to guide your every step. When you feel overwhelmed by the seeming permanence of evil, remember that it is only temporary, a passing phase in a greater tapestry of divine purpose. The light of Jesus is an unstoppable force, and by embracing it, we become powerful instruments of change, capable of dispelling even the darkest shadows. In closing, I invite you to reflect on these truths with an open heart. The question of why evil exists is not a condemnation, but a call to recognize our inherent potential to choose, to grow, and to transform. As a son of the choir of Jesus, I have witnessed firsthand how the light of His love can turn even the most bitter experiences into profound lessons of hope and redemption. Evil is not a force that can ultimately prevail. It is the absence of the divine light that resides within each of us. Remember that your free will is a gift, a powerful tool through which you can mold your destiny and contribute to a world filled with compassion, forgiveness, and endless grace. Every act of love, every choice to forgive rather than to harbor resentment, is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and an echo of the eternal promise of divine love. Thank you for joining me on this journey through pain, redemption, and the transformative power of forgiveness. May Lucid Dream Portal serve as a beacon for all those seeking to navigate the complexities of life with faith, courage, and love. Let us together embrace our inner light, channel the love of Jesus, and transform the struggles of our time into a symphony of hope and healing. May the grace and peace of our Lord Jesus Christ guide you today and always, and may you forever be an instrument of His light in a world yearning for truth, compassion, and redemption.